When Hell's Kitchen chefs had meltdowns, it was never just about burnt food or missed timings. The pressure cooker environment stripped away confidence, patience, and ego in seconds. One mistake could trigger shouting, panic, or total shutdown. These moments weren't planned. They were raw reactions to stress, exhaustion, and impossible standards. In that kitchen, perfection wasn't optional, and failure was loud. Watching skilled chefs unravel reminded everyone that talent alone isn't enough when pressure peaks. Hell's Kitchen didn't just test cooking skills, it exposed how people behave when everything is on the line. Before you think Hell's Kitchen is just shouting and chaos, there's a deeper story most people miss. This video breaks down why even top-tier chefs crack under pressure, what really triggers their meltdowns, and how the kitchen is designed to push limits on purpose. You'll learn the psychology behind the breakdowns, the unseen pressure points, and why these moments are more revealing than any perfect dish. Stick till the end to understand how talent, ego, and exhaustion collide when there's no room to breathe. Welcome to Pressure, Noise, or Expectations. Q8, Jodhpur, Kitchen, QA Mahal. Introduce, Caro. Before we talk about the explosions of anger or the moments when chefs completely shut down, it's important to understand the environment that quietly pushes them to that edge. Time pressure in Hell's Kitchen isn't just tight, it's engineered to feel impossible. Every second is counted, every delay noticed, and every hesitation magnified. Chefs aren't simply racing against the clock, they're racing against expectations that never slow down. Orders pile up, tickets keep printing, and the sense that you're already behind never leaves your head. Before we talk about the demand for perfection, consider how mistakes are treated in this kitchen. A slightly undercooked protein or a garnish placed a second too late isn't seen as a small slip. It's a failure that affects the entire brigade. Perfection isn't a goal here. It's the minimum requirement. That constant demand creates a mental trap where chefs feel they must perform flawlessly while moving at full speed. The pressure doesn't come from one big challenge, but from hundreds of tiny decisions made without pause. Before we talk about nonstop scrutiny, remember that Hell's Kitchen is designed so no action goes unnoticed. Cameras are everywhere, lights are intense, and every movement happens under watchful eyes. Chefs aren't only being judged by their leader, but by teammates, producers, and eventually, millions of viewers. Even confident professionals begin to second-guess themselves when they know every mistake could be replayed endlessly. That awareness changes how people behave, making simple tasks feel heavier than they should. Before we talk about how these elements combine, look at how time pressure and perfection collide. When speed is mandatory and flaws are unacceptable, stress becomes unavoidable. Chefs are forced to choose between rushing and risking errors, or slowing down and risking criticism. That constant inner conflict drains focus and emotional control. It's not the loud shouting that breaks people, it's the silence inside their own heads as they try to keep everything together. Before we talk about the breaking point, notice how scrutiny removes any sense of privacy. There's no safe moment to breathe, no quiet corner to regroup. Every reaction, every sigh, every glance of frustration becomes part of the narrative. Over time, this erodes resilience, turning pressure into panic. In Hell's Kitchen, time pressure, perfection, and nonstop scrutiny don't just test cooking ability, they reshape how chefs think, react, and survive, minute by minute. Before we talk about full-scale meltdowns, it helps to focus on the small mistakes that quietly set everything in motion. In Hell's Kitchen, choti galtia, never stay small for long. A sauce, seasoned a little late, a garnish forgotten, or a plate sent a few seconds off cue can ripple through the entire service. These errors don't exist in isolation. They interrupt rhythm, throw timing off, and force everyone else to compensate instantly. What looks minor on the surface quickly becomes fuel for stress and frustration. Before we talk about communication breakdown, it's important to understand how fragile coordination becomes under pressure. Orders are shouted, responses are expected immediately, and silence is often interpreted as failure. When one chef misses a call or misunderstands an instruction, confusion spreads fast. Voices get louder, patience runs thinner, and clarity disappears. In that chaos, even experienced chefs can struggle to express what they need or understand what's being asked of them. The kitchen becomes noisy, but effective communication fades. Before we talk about teamwork, consider how individual responsibility clashes with collective success. Every chef is judged on personal performance, yet the service only works if everyone moves as one. That contradiction creates tension. A chef may rush to save their own station, unknowingly sabotaging another. Helping a teammate might slow you down, but ignoring them risks sinking the whole team. This constant balancing act turns cooperation into pressure rather than support. Before we talk about how pressure escalates, Notice how blame enters the picture. When something goes wrong, fingers point fast. Chefs defend themselves. Explanations turn into arguments, and trust starts to fracture. Instead of solving the problem, energy is spent on protecting reputation. Once blame replaces collaboration, the kitchen feels less like a team and more like a battlefield, where every mistake feels personal. Before we talk about emotional reactions, look at how teamwork pressure limits recovery. There's no pause to reset or clarify misunderstandings. The next order arrives immediately, demanding full focus despite unresolved tension. Chefs carry frustration from one moment into the next, stacking stress on top of stress. In this environment, communication breakdowns and teamwork pressure don't just disrupt service, they quietly push chefs toward the edge, one small mistake at a time. Before we talk about the shouting that echoes through the kitchen, it's important to understand what happens internally when pressure stops feeling manageable. Panic doesn't arrive all at once. It builds quietly, starting with rushed movements and shallow breathing. Chefs begin to doubt timing, second-guess seasoning, and lose the rhythm they rely on. Even simple tasks feel heavier, as the fear of making another mistake takes over their focus. Before we talk about frustration, notice how panic limits clear thinking. When a chef feels overwhelmed, logic gives way to emotion. Hands move faster than the mind can process, leading to more errors instead of fewer. Frustration grows when effort doesn't lead to improvement, and each correction feels like confirmation that something is slipping away. In Hell's Kitchen, that frustration has nowhere to go, so it turns inward or explodes outward. Before we talk about confidence breaking, consider how constant criticism reshapes self-belief. Many chefs enter the kitchen with years of experience and pride in their craft. But repeated callouts, harsh feedback, and public scrutiny slowly erode that foundation. Confidence isn't lost in one moment. It fractures piece by piece. A chef who once trusted their instincts begins to hesitate, and hesitation is costly when seconds matter. Before we talk about visible breakdowns, pay attention to body language. Shoulders tense, movements stiffen, and eye contact disappears. These subtle signs reveal a chef retreating mentally, trying to survive rather than excel. Panic narrows their world to the next plate, the next command, the next possible mistake. Everything else fades, including teamwork and communication. Before we talk about complete shutdowns, understand how frustration and fear feed each other. The more a chef struggles, the harder they push, and the faster control slips away. Confidence collapses under the weight of expectation, leaving doubt in its place. In that moment, skill becomes secondary to survival, and the kitchen transforms from a place of creativity into a test of mental endurance, where every second feels like a fight to stay standing. Before we talk about these moments as entertainment, it's important to remember that what unfolds in the kitchen is rooted in real human psychology. The reactions we see aren't scripted performances or exaggerated for effect. They are instinctive responses to stress, fear, and exhaustion colliding at once. When a chef raises their voice or freezes mid-service, it's the nervous system reacting to overload, not a desire to create drama. Before we talk about emotional outbursts, consider how long pressure has been building before that instant. Chefs often carry stress from earlier services, previous mistakes, and personal expectations. Sleep deprivation, physical fatigue, and mental strain compound silently. By the time emotions spill over, the body has already been operating in survival mode for hours. What looks sudden on screen is usually the final release of tension that's been accumulating beneath the surface. Before we talk about perception, recognize how viewers often separate skill from emotion. A meltdown is easy to judge from a distance, but inside the kitchen, those reactions make sense. The brain under extreme stress prioritizes immediate threats over composure. Decision-making, narrows emotional control, weakens, and reactions become raw. These aren't failures of character. They're predictable responses to overwhelming conditions. Before we talk about authenticity, notice how these moments mirror high-pressure environments beyond the kitchen. Surgeons, athletes, pilots, and first responders experience similar reactions when stakes are high and errors carry consequences. Hell's Kitchen simply makes these reactions visible. The cameras don't create the stress, they capture it. That visibility turns private struggles into public moments, making them feel more intense than they already are. Before we talk about judgment, think about empathy. These chefs aren't breaking down because they're weak. They're reacting because they care deeply about performance, reputation, and growth. The emotional weight comes from investment, not incompetence. When confidence cracks or frustration surfaces, it reveals how much is at stake, personally and professionally. Before we talk about drama as a label, understand that real human reactions rarely look polished or controlled. Stress doesn't express itself neatly. It shows up as silence, anger, tears, or withdrawal. Hell's Kitchen captures those raw edges, reminding viewers that behind every white jacket is a human being navigating pressure in real time. In the end, Hell's Kitchen is more than a test of cooking ability, it's a test of who you are when everything starts falling apart. Under relentless pressure, skills can crack, but character and mental strength are what truly get exposed. These moments stay unforgettable because they're real, raw, and deeply human. If this breakdown of pressure and performance gave you a new perspective, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into iconic TV moments. Pressure surf skills. Nahi, character or mental strength. Be test Karta high, and that's what keeps us watching.